to the November 28th Special Safety Services and Licensing Committee meeting. I would ask the clerk to please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Present.
Councilman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Jermaine, Councilwoman Vargas,
Present.
Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Present.
Council President Paplaskas.
Present.
Okay, we have one matter on the agenda tonight, but since this is a public hearing, I will ask if there's anyone in the audience or on Zoom that has any public comment. There being none, I'll close public comment, and pursuant to RIGL 4246-5A2 collective bargaining litigation, I will ask for a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas. Yes. Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine. Yes. Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
There were no votes taken in executive session, and I will entertain a motion to seal the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine.
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Thank you. And we have no further business on this agenda, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are now adjourned.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, November 28th Cranston City Council meeting. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilwoman Marino, Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Present.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Present.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Present.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Councilman Riley,
Present.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Present.
Council President Paplaskas.
Present, just to note, Councilmember Marino is not feeling well tonight, so if she is not here, has an excused absence. And our council solicitor has a prior engagement and should be here shortly. At this time, I will ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everyone. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to dispense with and approve the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Next up, we have public acknowledgements and combinations, and I can see we have multiple teams we're honoring. At this time, I'd like to invite up Councilwoman Renzulli and Councilman Donegan to the podium for citations.
Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. We have a lot of young athletes to honor, so I will be brief. But we are tonight first honoring the boys soccer team from Western Hills Middle School, who went undefeated and was the division champion. They worked really hard all season. I'm the cross-country coach at Western Hills, so I would see them every day at practice. And I've coached many of them on the track team and on cross-country. And they're amazing kids. They work together, great team. Their coach, Jose Rico, I don't know if do you want to say a couple of words or no? Say something? No? Okay. So just congratulations, guys. We're so proud of you. You did a great job. And we're just gonna call you up one by one. Coach Jose Rico. Yeah. Yep. Wesley Batacola. Jolan Castro. Owen Catelli. Ryan DeRico. Gabriel Fajardo. Hasten Gallant. Tyler Gavalopoulos. I don't know how to pronounce it. Gavopoulos. It's not here. I know. Alex Halidri. Gabriel Hart. Avery Johnson. Joseph Manzi. Christopher Perez. Dylan Perez. Camilo Ramirez. Amari Rico. Israel Maruvia Rico. Adrian Rivera. Chase Santos. Nicholas Scorpio. Joey Testa. Kayven Vivar. Jonathan Zanny. And Reese Sorella. And if you guys want to come up and take a picture, if families wants to come up, you can do that. All right, thank you. And guys, have a good night. Next, we are going to honor the girls cross country team from Western Hills. They were also the division champions. So I might be a little bit biased, but these girls are phenomenal. I really enjoyed coaching them. And this is my last year coaching at Western Hills. So I'm glad we went out victorious, and I know you guys are going to go on to be really successful. And I can't wait to coach you in high school. So we'll just go one by one. Lena Riley. Molly Cinco. Maggie Sojol. Kathleen Rossi. Madeline Marks. Addison Juicy. And last but not least, our captain, Victoria Bramble.
Thank you, Coach Nicole, for handing out the citations, and congratulations to all of the champs. Great job by all. At this, one more round of applause for the champs. At this time, I'll pause the council meeting for a couple of minutes to allow anyone that doesn't want to sit through the rest of the meeting the ability to exit. You're more than welcome to stay, but you don't have to. All right, thank you, everyone. Welcome back. I have one more public acknowledgement and commendation here. This is for a friend of mine, Dale Chase, who turned 50th, had his 50th birthday today. Feels like we've been celebrating all year, so just want to say happy birthday to Dale Chase, 50 years. So I'm gonna go by and knock on his door no matter what time it is when we leave here, and wish him a happy birthday. So Dale, if you're watching, we're gonna keep you up. Just a friend from Troop 6. He's a scoutmaster in Troop 6 Cranston, and it's his 50th. So happy birthday, Dale. All right, moving on. We have public hearing and public comment. At this time is the time for anybody from the public to come up to the podium and speak on any docketed matters. Try to limit your comments to 3 minutes this evening if possible. We'll do public comment in chambers first, and then we will go to Zoom. So if you're in the waiting room on Zoom, raise your hand. We'll be with you shortly, one at a time, once we do public comment in chambers. So at this time, if you'd like to speak to the council or have public comment, come on up, name and address for the record. Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record and make sure the green light is on. If it's not, there's a button that says push.
Is that on? Is this on?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Trimber. I live at 143 Sefton Road in Edgewood. I've lived in Edgewood for the past 8 years and 30 plus years before that in Eden Park. I was involved with a group of 41 Cranston residents from Eden Park and Edgewood who sent a letter to the council members concerning the resolution opposing the establishment of pallet housing village at the Pastore Center. And I'd like to read that letter. It's very brief. Dear council members, we are writing to express our strong opposition to the Riley-Renzulli resolution opposing the establishment of a pallet housing village at the Pastore Center. We object in particular to the way the resolution promotes unfounded and exaggerated fears of our unhoused fellow humans by equating them with sex offenders. Everyone needs a home, including sex offenders. The proponents of the Riley-Renzulli resolution hold that it is only about protecting Cranston from having to do more than the city's fair share. The unspoken underlying logic of the resolution, however, is to dehumanize the homeless, to see them as a burden on the more fortunate, and to do nothing to provide housing for those who need it. We urge all city council members to vote against this resolution tonight and to begin serious discussions that will lead to actions that address the crisis of homelessness in Cranston and Rhode Island, both in the short term with winter coming on by providing shelter for those who need it, and in the longer term by developing affordable housing alternatives, rent control, and other measures. We look forward to working with you on such initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else in chambers that would like to speak on any of the matters before the council this evening? Now would be the time.
My name is Dave Wilburn. I live at 14 Norman Avenue, and I'm opposed to the change of ordinance to allow for the apartments at 747 Pontiac Avenue. I got 4 quick points. The first one is about traffic. They say there won't be any increase in traffic, and that's ludicrous because we never had any traffic between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. the following morning when it was a commercial building. Obviously, that's going to be the increase of traffic between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. We now will have enormous traffic, and all that traffic is going to exit on to side streets, Norman and Myrtle. So to say that there was not going to be an increase in traffic is ludicrous. We don't care how much traffic there is between 9 and 5 in the daytime. That's normal. It's the nighttime traffic and the weekend traffic that's going to be horrendous, a great increase. Second thing is to compare any of this to Willowbrook or Garden Glen, to compare any of this,
Sir,
to compare any of this to Willowbrook or Garden Glen is ludicrous also, because both of those have acreage. They are family oriented.
sir, hold on. We'll give you a time back. If you can speak clearly
Okay.
and slowly into the microphone, so that way Ron can
Okay.
take stenography. Thank you.
My point being, the last meeting, they compared the many apartments which there are in Cranston to Willowbrook, Garden Glen, both of which have enormous acreage. They're family oriented. They're not one small block building. They are smaller block buildings, but they are family oriented. They have acreage, they have swimming pools, and most important, they both exit on Pontiac Avenue. They do not exit on side streets. The most important thing is they often say that there's going to be no change whatsoever to the exterior of the building. This is false. They have not addressed the ADA concerns. There is a ADA concern here, but they're going to have to supply 5% of those units, which is 1 unit in their case. It's going to have to be the middle unit. They're going to have a horrendously large wheelchair ramp. The increase in elevation from the parking lot to the mid-level is 102 inches. That's 8 foot 6 inches. They're going to have a ramp, and it's 47 feet from the parking lot to the center of the building. They're going to have a ramp 1 inch per foot. In other words, they're going to have a ramp 102 feet long, which is impossible unless they zigzag it, which of course is possible. They'll have to zigzag it 3 times. The minimum width is 42 inches inside, 48 on the outside. It's going to be 12 feet wide, 8 foot from the building, and approximately 35 foot in length, zigzagging back and forth in order to accommodate that. Now, they don't have to have one on the north and the south end, but if they put this on the south end, the building inspector, the fire marshals, both local and statewide, will insist that they have one on the north end, because if you're wheelchair bound on the mid-level and you have a fire, you're not getting out if there's only one egress. And that's concerns that I have. Nothing seems to work, except what they could easily do if they want to keep it commercial is to create a lift tower on the north end. Once they had a lift tower, elevator lift tower, they would attract very professional commercial. They would attract doctors, rehabilitation people, lawyers with a small cadre, accountants with a small cadre, dentists, all sorts of professionals would gladly come and they could investigate it. The other thing that they also know is if they go commercial, keep it commercial, they have a thing called tenant fit up. They know this. Tenant fit up would allow them to dispense a lot of their expenses to the owner of the unit, to who's ever renting it. And they would also make a considerable amount of money doing that. So the only reason they're going to do it this way is because it's a fast, easy way they're going to get cash flow, they're going to get revenue flow. And I don't think that's a good reason to have this go from commercial to 18 units. And the only reason they're getting close to what the planning commission is because they have promised to do 3 units, which is actually 16.66%. 3 units over 18 is 16.66%. And they've agreed to do that. And that's why the planning commission is backing them up. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in chambers that would like to speak on a docketed matter? Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Margot Morriso. I'm the Deputy Director at the Rhode Island Coalition to End Homelessness. I'm here because we were here for a couple of weeks ago for the committee meeting and heard about the resolution and wanted to express our concern about the resolution that is opposing the establishment of pallet housing villages. Pallet housing is a brand. The technical name is temporary deployable units. And temporary deployable units are a great solution to address the homeless crisis that we're having in the state. A couple of weeks ago when we were here, we gave you some statistics that were pretty terrible. And I can tell you over the past couple of weeks since that last meeting, the statistics have gotten even worse. Right now, we have 482 people who are outside as of tonight. Imagine being outside in the cold on a night like this where it's going to go down to 32 degrees. Our state is doing everything that they can to identify locations, and temporary deployable units are a great solution. Imagine being in a tent where you can't lock the door and all your worldly possessions are in one place. You don't want to leave that tent ever. So you're missing meals, you're missing doctor's appointments, you're missing critical life supports because you're afraid to leave your tent and all of your belongings. Now imagine that you're a family and you have a 17-year-old, 18-year-old son living with you. You're a single mom with children. One of your sons is 17 or 18 years old. You're afraid to go to a family shelter because a lot of family shelters will make the oldest child go to a different shelter. That is also another thing that's terrible to imagine right now around the holidays. We don't want to break up families. We want to keep families together. And then there's some of us that are animal lovers. And imagine being out on the street and you're staying out on the street because you keep your beloved pet, your beloved dog with you all the time. Pallet shelters are a way to keep family units together, to keep people safe, to keep their possessions safe, to keep their support system together, whether it's, you know, family staying in one place, a partner staying with you, your dog staying with you. It is a way to get people off the streets. And this is when we look around outside right now, we see people camping out in these horrible conditions. We've had terrible rain. We know snow is coming, and we need to get people inside as quick as possible. And the wonderful thing about the temporary deployable units is that they're temporary. They're not permanent. So they address the situation as the situation is in a crisis. But once the crisis starts to subside, then those deployable units can be packed up and put away. And hopefully we can get ahead of the crisis and not have to use them again. Right now, we're at the state where time is running out and we're looking for alternative solutions. But spending time on resolutions such as this one is detracting from the work of finding solutions. So we ask you to reconsider this resolution that you have before you tonight, and know that we are here as a partner to help you to address any situation that you are exploring. We're happy to come to workshops, and we also are here to give you the real facts so that you are not distracted by misinformation, such as we've heard the information about the fear of sex offenders moving into temporary deployable units. That is not the reality. The reality is that we're going to be helping families, we're going to be helping children. And I ask you to open your hearts, open your minds, and say yes in my backyard, because this is what I would prefer in my backyard. I prefer to not have people living in tents in my backyard, and I would prefer to have people in a safe structure that keeps them warm and keeps their family together, especially in the harsh winter that's coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers that would like to speak on a docketed matter? Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Jaworski, formerly of 104 Bailey Street in Cranston, but currently I serve as the Executive Director for House of Hope CDC. We are a nonprofit based in Warwick. However, we are the employer of the largest street-based outreach team in the state of Rhode Island. At House of Hope, we serve well over 1,000 folks every year who are experiencing homelessness and housing insecurity. And we also, for about 7 years, we were the operator of Harrington Hall, the largest men's shelter here in our state, located on the Pastore complex. I'm here tonight to urge you to oppose the resolution that is banning pallet shelters for many of the reasons that previous testifiers have already shared with you. It's always really challenging to come out and leave my household that's warm and welcoming and cozy, and explain to my children why I have to come out here. In the words of my son, who stated, it should be pretty obvious what people need, and that's help. People need a place to stay, and how can you leave unhoused people out? There's been a lot of dangerous rhetoric that has gone on around this resolution, one that paints unhoused individuals with dangerous broad brush terms, such as drug addicts and sex offenders. And when we start making those sorts of statements about folks, it starts to dehumanize them. And that is not an approach that I don't think anyone wants to take to this issue. So I urge you, in addition, to do some fact finding. There's been a lot of misinformation about Harrington Hall itself, about folks who are unhoused and what they're experiencing. I would really urge the council at the very minimum to table the resolution and to go for further study, or do whatever action you have within your power to take some time, learn a bit more about the issue, learn about what Cranston is doing. And instead of talking about doing our fair share, let's talk about doing things as the basement and not the ceiling, and really start digging deep as to how Cranston can serve as a model, but also bring other municipalities along in making solutions that address the unhoused crisis here in the state of Rhode Island. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers to speak on any matters that are on the docket? Seeing none, we will go to Zoom. Tom?
Account name Lundy Braun.
Good evening, Wendy. You can unmute.
Okay, I think I've got it now. I'm
Name and
Lindy,
address for the record, please.
my name is Lundy Brown and I live at 47 Strathmore Road in Cranston. I've lived in Cranston since 1981 and I love living in this community. I too deeply oppose the Riley Renzulli resolution and want to make a simple statement about this truly shocking, dehumanizing, fear-mongering effort to deprive the unhoused of any kind of warm place at home at night. This is by two council members who actually sleep comfortably in their homes at night, as do I, as do the rest of us. As the weather gets colder and colder, all Cranston residents should oppose this resolution and at the same time support the many aspects of affordable housing that we know work. Build low-cost housing, implement rent control and jobs. People do not want to live unhoused. I beg the city council to oppose this resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Account name Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Rachel Smith. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Excellent. Just wanted to speak on the potential change to the overnight parking. I hope that before any progress is made on this ordinance, that the police, fire, and highway department would be consulted and that their opinions as such subject matter experts would be taken heavily with.
Hi, Rachel.
Yep.
Yes, I hate to interrupt you, but I don't believe we have any overnight parking ordinances on the docket this evening. So
It's under Councilwoman Jermaine.
Yeah, that's council member communications. We have a second part of the docket where we do public comment for undocketed items. If
Okay.
you could hold your comments till then, that would be.
It's under item 10. I don't know if that was
Correct,
for this
but,
or for
it's-
later.
I would hold it till the second part just because it's not an item up for a vote tonight.
Not a problem.
Thank you so much. Anyone else on
Account
Zoom?
name Louisa DeVideo.
Hello.
Hello, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Luisa Duvidio and I live at 40 Midland Drive in Cranston. I spoke a few weeks ago, several weeks ago on the resolution from the Safety Services and Licenses Committee. And I spoke out against it. Tonight, 500 of your constituents, of our neighbors, will be sleeping outside in their tent or a car if they're lucky. And tomorrow, over 700 people will be on a waiting list just to be able to sleep in a bed under a roof. This body is charged with the responsibility to take care of our city and our community. And this body has been given the chance to apply a balm to this problem and to hold these constituents in community with them. The folks that we're talking about who are unhoused right now are your constituents. And I said it several weeks ago, and I think it bears repeating. They live here, they sleep here at night. This is where they go to work, they go to school. This is where their family and friends are. These humans in crisis, you could be giving them the chance to stabilize their lives and their families. And I think that these community members deserve elected officials in government that will advocate for them and help them. And they deserve a community that rises up to this problem instead of shrinking away from it. Again, I believe myself and many of my neighbors are not so small-minded as to not know the inherent value that every human has, regardless of their housing status. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom? If you'd like to speak on the public comment, please raise your hand.
Philip Graham.
Hello, Philip. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi there. My name is Philip Graham. I live on 78 Sefton Drive in Cranston. And for the past 6.5 years, I've been working with the city meals people at a soup kitchen, making meals for the homeless before the pandemic and all throughout it as well. I've met hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homeless people, and I have to say, the characterization of them in the resolution has no connection to my experience. I've also written a number of articles for the monthly homeless magazines called Street Sites. And if anybody wants to learn more about the homeless, you should go online and look that up. There are a number of articles there. I interviewed a number of people who are homeless for Street Sites. And the thing that struck me was the horrific childhoods of many of the people who's had their lives crushed and that it ended up with homelessness. And then somehow they were able to pick themselves back up again. And in almost every case, it was a mentor, but also and especially it was getting some kind of home, some kind of support so they could have stability in their lives. These are people who are kind and gentle and very grateful for what we do for them when we make meals for them. They are deserving of our help and they need our help. Because I've met so many people who have actually made wonderful, wonderful lives, having been given the support that they all need. So what I'm asking for you to do is maybe perhaps go to Street Sites magazine online and read some of those articles. Your ideas about the homeless will probably be transformed. But it's also simply a matter of you're in government, you're there to help the people. They are, as someone has said, your constituents. They desperately need help. And many of them being given that help will probably be able to right themselves in some way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see no additional public comment. If the council president could remind the public that they need to raise their hand in order to speak.
Last call for any members of the public on Zoom that would like to speak on a docketed matter.
I see no public comment.
Thank you. One last call for anyone in chambers that might have walked in late. For any public comment on the docket. Seeing none, I will close public comment. Thank you all. Moving on to resolutions. We do not have any resolutions under the resolution subject line item, but we do under reports of committees. So moving on to report of committees, Safety Services and Licensing Committee. Councilwoman Nicole Renzulli, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So before us tonight, we have a resolution opposing the establishment of pallet housing villages at the Pastore Center. I will ask Councilman Riley if you would like to speak about it first and then open it up.
First, I'll entertain a motion on the ordinance or
To
resolution.
approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, under discussion. Councilman Riley, did you want to talk first on the discussion?
Thank you, Council President. So we discussed this resolution at length at the ordinance committee, and my statements there are on the record. I would just like to add that the governor himself did say that Cranston is doing its fair share, as we already have the largest men's shelter in the state at the Pastore Center. And while I've been asked to research things and clarify things, I'd like everybody else to get some clarity on this issue. There will be, even if this resolution never existed, there would not be families and children at the Pastore Center in temporary housing. It's against the law. There are sex offenders. There's about 32 of them right now, and possibly moving up to 41 at the Pastore Center at the Harrington Hall. So families can't go there. So that argument, it has no basis in fact. So the pallet shelters for families, that if that is a temporary solution, that's fine. All we're saying is we already have the largest men's shelter in my neighborhood, in my ward, where the residents have come to me and asked me to put this forward. Because year after year after year, the state just puts things in the Pastori Center because they can. This resolution is meaningless. He can do whatever he wants. This resolution is merely a message saying, we don't want any more. Not that this, not in my backyard, because it's already right in my backyard. I can see it. So the whole fear mongering, small mindedness, and all the moral superiority that we're hearing tonight, all to allow the state to put temporary shelters up, that's really the solution. We're applauding this. These people need wraparound services. They need housing. They need places to go. The other 38 municipalities can do what Cranston does. And if only 4 of them do that, there will not be one person on the street tonight. So rather than being here, where we already have the largest men's shelter and we're saying, hey, can we get some help? The other 38 cities and towns could listen to all of you tonight. And hopefully they would do what we do. So that's why I put it forward. The residents in my ward are already overburdened. The police and fire are overburdened for that area. So it's not simply a moral argument. There are only so many services that can go around. Cranston can't do it all. So that is why I put forward this resolution. It's not to keep people on the street. It's to break the status quo that this so-called compassion is allowing to exist, where homeless people stay on the street year after year after year, and the millions of dollars that go to it simply just go to salaries. They don't get to the people. And I applaud everyone that works with them. I've worked at Harrington Hall. I ran a legal clinic there, and I've done many other things as well. So all I'm saying is we have enough at the Pastori Center right now, and to do more would overburden the city services and the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilmember Donegan.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. Well, I'll start off by saying I'm going to be voting no this evening on this resolution, with all due respect to to my colleague to the right of me and colleague across the way. This resolution does absolutely nothing to address the root of the issue. It does nothing to address homelessness in our community. And as my colleague just said, it's meaningless. But the words that we use and the actions that we take are not meaningless. And the message that we can send, or that we would send by approving of this, is, as some of the members of the community said, it is dehumanizing. And it lacks in the compassion that I think that all of us should approach our work as public servants. And for that reason, in itself, we should be voting against this evening. I know I've hammered on these statistics in the past. Councilwoman Ronzulli, I made sure to make sure that my statistics were up to date regarding the kids count 2020 fact book. There are 30 children within the Cranston Public School System that are identified as homeless. According to the Rhode Island or Housing Works Rhode Island, the median household income is $72,000. The median household income to afford the median priced home, single family home here in Cranston is $80,000. So things right there are not computing. And we know just how close so many people are from being one paycheck away to being homeless. Maybe some of us at one point in our lives being there. And I think that we also need to, remember the fact that almost 70 years ago, or over 70 years ago, the UN did declare that housing and adequate housing is a human right. And we have 480 something people that we heard this evening that are not having that right met. And that we need to do everything that we can to make sure that as the temperatures drop, people have a safe place to live, that they have a place that is warm and dry, where they would be able to get the services that they might need. the resolution is meaningless, our actions and our words are not, and we should act with compassion and we should vote this down this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. So unfortunately, at the last meeting, I wasn't able to attend due to a prior commitment. It was an emergency meeting, so although I did not know or understand why this urgency on November 3rd, but when I read this resolution, I have so many concerns. And I have to mention, I feel ashamed. I didn't expect that from my colleague on the council. Really, I didn't think that we could propose something like this that really show homeless people as less than dangerous. This is not who they are. Let me tell you a story. You know, before November 3rd, we know it's the election season, and I was campaigning in the ward. I met a woman. She is pregnant. She is 23 months pregnant. She has a 17-month-old kid. She was living with her boyfriend, and they have a problem with the mother-in-law, and she ended up homeless. I found her in her car with a child, 17 months old and pregnant. And I spent more than 20 minutes talking to her, and I met his father, who is a veteran, homeless as well. This woman explained to me how she's living in her car. If you see this car, all the belongings she has on a car. And I was standing there hopeless, not knowing what to do, how to help her. She's not a criminal. She's not a dangerous person. So putting everybody in the same box, I think that's wrong. I'm telling you another story. A friend of mine has a sister. Her sister has only one child who has a defect when he was born. This young man cannot work. He was on the care of the parents. The mom passed away. The dad, he lives with the dad. And what happened, the dad has Alzheimer's disease. And forget to pay the mortgage to continue to keep up with all the bills and lost the house. Now you have a young man, 25 years old, cannot work because he does not have the ability to work. And now homeless. So we have a lot of families that just experiencing hardship, lost a job, get sick, and become homeless. We talk about sex offender. And we know this is well regulated in Queensland. Don't detract. Don't put everything in the same box. Please don't do that. We know anytime we have a new sex offender, police in Queensland, our police department do a good job. You will know right away there is a sex offender here, and they are well regulated. So that's what I want to say about the first thing. I wasn't here to partake in the discussion, but I think we can do better than that. It's not because you have to oppose the governor, you have to show you are in opposition on everything. But I don't see this proposal, or I'm not really sure if we will, how many pallet houses they propose to build. And one thing I know, we cannot build everything here. We have 39 municipalities. So Cranston cannot accept all of them. That's for sure. I am not for that, because we need equals and equitable shared responsibility. That's my point. But at the same time, we cannot say we're not taking, not in my backyard. So all I hear in this resolution is, I cannot say this word well, but it's diminish human being and not in my backyard. That's the two things I heard from this resolution. Not in my backyard and demonizing people. That's what I heard. So we are smart people. We can do better than that. As of today, I do not have the evidence for how many pallet housing that is proposed. As we are talking about it, was it something that just happened behind the doors? And I think the governor, Dan Mackey, is the head of the state. As such, he should meet with every head of the cities to sit down, to find a common ground solution to this crisis. We have a crisis that we need to address, not this way. The homelessness crisis is huge. Thinking about our brothers and sisters, unhoused, children, unhoused. We need to do something for them. Every city should host pallet housing. Every city, period. So if the governor cannot take the lead to the leadership to say, this is, I'm gonna give you 10, or there's a way we can do it. I'm giving, Cranston is the second largest. So you have 100. Warwick have 100. Providence 200. We have 39 cities. We can do it equally. Not one city hosts everything. I don't agree with that. But we cannot say, I'm not taking any or good. If something is not good for our city, it's not good for any city. So we need to stop this thing. If I don't want it in my backyard, well, you don't need another backyard. No. So we have a population, an increase in population, over 80,000 people in Cranston. That's already, they are here. If they lost their houses, they are homeless. This is a little thing we can do to really recruit how many homeless we have. They are our sisters, they are our brothers. Right here, we keep what we have here first, okay? We serve ours first. And while we take hers, or Cumberland, or Tiverton, whatever, every mayor should sit down, because I don't think none of them already meet the requirement for housing, right? I don't think so. So this is an opportunity to address the issue properly. We can find a more productive way to address the homelessness, the housing crisis. Just let's work together. Let's work together to find a solution to help our brothers, our sisters. I heard it's a temporary. So temporary, we know this is not a solution that can, but now it's cold. We know how cold it is. When you get out, you forget your jacket. You know what it is. You know, as for me, I cannot stand this cold. I can't imagine not having, when I get out, I'm just wanting to go home. We need to see it with a lens of empathy, compassion, humanity. I understand we need our backyard. We need to not see people I heard panhandling, you know, but it's come to all of us. All of us. It doesn't matter we agree with the governor or we don't agree with the governor, but I hope he has the leadership to call the mayors. This is not our job as a council person. That's not our job. I hope the governor take the leadership. He calls 39, if there is 39 mayors, to sit down to say how many you're gonna take in your city, period. But I don't wanna hear, it's every time we have this, since I've been in this council, I heard it all the time and I'm tired of it. I don't want this in my backyard. I don't want this in my neighborhood. But where do you want it? So your neighborhood is better than the other neighborhood? Your city is better than the other city, so you cannot have anything in your city and in other city can have it? Let's change the way we do things. You know, let's do things with another perspective. Because at the end of the day, we are all human beings. And we all gonna go. We're not staying here. What we live as our legacy, what we want to live for our children, the way we treat our brothers, the way we treat our sisters, that's the legacy we're gonna live. So that's why I'm gonna vote against this resolution, because I don't feel I can, those words, I understand we don't want it. It's a status quo. I understand people can call you. You may be, well, they don't want it. You panic. But I know in your heart, that's not what you are. Councilor Nzuli, I know you have a heart of gold. I know that. I know that's not what you are. I know that. No, I don't think that's who you are, really. But let's not let politics get in the way to say things that not represent us, really. I don't think this is represent you to treat people like this. They are not criminals. They are not dangerous. This resolution, they are not, that's how we portray human beings. So that's what I want to say. We can sit together and let's this. So I call on the governor of Rhode Island, Dan Mackey, to take the leadership. Call every mayor. This is not our job to do as a council person. Take the leadership to sit down with the mayors, and that's not, you're not gonna ask them a favor. You are the state, the head of the state. So I know what leadership means. This is what we're gonna do. We have an issue, we have a problem, we need to do something. This is what we're going to do, period. And thank you.
Thank you, council member. Anyone that hasn't spoken yet? Any discussion? Council, Vice President Ferry.
I will admit that that's going to be tough to follow. I thought I was upset 2 weeks ago when I was trashed on social media about this. I got a call from a woman and she said, I can't believe you voted to approve 400 pallet houses at the Pastori Center. And I said, where did you see that? She saw it on social media that I voted to approve a pallet housing project. First of all, let's remember one thing. There was never a vote for pallet housing in this city. There was only a discussion. We all received a letter from Josh Saul, the Secretary of Housing in Rhode Island. I know we all got a copy of it. And I'm just going to quote what he said in that letter. At the meeting, it was handed out at the meeting, Councilwoman Jermaine. At no point, he was writing this letter, okay, to the Honorable Mayor Hopkins and the council members. At no point did we actively seek or plan to construct a village of pallet shelters or other shelter beds. Our only conversation was exploratory, with the goal of being as transparent as possible, and in the interest of obtaining input from Cranston's leadership team, which he's referring to us sitting here right now. While there was currently no plan to add shelters in Cranston, period. So here we've spent 2 meetings, many hours, gotten hundreds of people upset, and there was never a plan to build these houses in Cranston. As far as this resolution goes, it was poorly written, dehumanizing, and it was nothing but a political stunt by its authors to put fear into the neighbors that live near the Pastore complex. Like I said, one woman thought 400 of these was going in. She thought it was already voted on and approved. The resolution does not address the need nor the long-term solution to the fact that people in Cranston, as we sit here right now in this 70-degree room, under bridges, in tents, and in the woods. They are unhoused. I am able to count how many times we have referred to Cranston in this council chambers as the second largest city in Rhode Island. The fact of the matter is, we only do what we're forced to do for homeless people in this city, and we do not do our share for the homeless people in this city. We do nothing except do what we're told by the state, and we're using that to put fear into people. Not all unhoused people are criminals and sex offenders. Many are good, decent people that want to work and have a place to live. Too many people housing. As this resolution is written, I am unable to support it. I would be willing to work with anyone that wants to put the other cities and towns in the state at a table so we can come up with a solution that we're all part of. And we will stop using politics to dehumanize people without housing. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Any other council members that haven't spoken on this topic yet? Council member Rinzuli.
Thank you. So I just want to point out that if we did not have this discussion, then none of us can really say what would have happened. But in May, it was suggested to the governor, it was published in Go Local, that they should put 500 of these in the Pastore Center. And then in October, when it was already cold, just like last year, when it was already cold, the administration is looking for solutions and they're going around to find them. Obviously, this was an option. There was no plan. Part of the problem is there still is no plan, apparently. I will praise the governor for, since us putting this forward, contracted with a hotel in Smithfield with wraparound services. People will be able to be there all day. And I think that that's a better idea than putting people in boxes, because I think putting people in boxes is dehumanizing. We're warehousing them. Is it better than a tent? I see that point. It's warmer. You're not getting wet. But you're still in a box. So I don't know why we're going to pretend like we should call that a house and that people should be happy about it because they should take something better than a tent. So the problem is, the biggest challenge here is not money, because there's a lot of money for this. There's money from FEMA that I think all the cities and towns could have applied for that we didn't even really know about, because there's not a big overlapping organization or coordination of this issue. I agree with Councilwoman Jermaine that every city and town should be in the room on this so that we can all figure out how to do this. There is a think it's called the Continuum of Care Council. Only one municipality is represented there. It's Providence. If you want us to do more, bring us to the table. Because if there was a plan and it was good, and maybe it was June, we could have had something. I would like everyone to watch, if you have time, the documentary Beyond Homelessness, Finding Hope. There are other methods to doing this. I'm not claiming to be a housing czar or have all the answers. I just know that putting boxes in the Pastore Center is not going to solve a problem. It just puts a Band-Aid on it and spends a lot of money, and we're not actually helping the people. So I think that we're detracting from finding solutions by doing this. And we're not putting children there. The children that need to go to school, let's put them in hotels. Let's buy buildings. There's vacant buildings all over the place. We could do something with that. So I don't know how to solve the problem, but I know that this is not the way to do it. And that bringing this forward did get a conversation started and got some solutions going. And I'm fine with that because that's what we're supposed to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Renzulli. Any council member that hasn't spoken yet? Member Vargas. Thank you.
Thank you. I will also start off saying that I am not in support of this resolution. I was not in support of the resolution when it came before us and during committee, and I am not in support of this resolution this evening. There seems to be two parts of this resolution, or possibly a bit more. And one of them is the payment structure, of which I think the concern from what I'm hearing is also either the number of calls or the possible number of calls that our public safety department, police and fire would possibly be responding to, in that in exchange, we would like to get some sort of funds, if that is the case, if the temporary deployable unit, also known as pallet housing, or that's the key term, gets put up, sorry. The other part of it is that, you know, the temporary deployable units, and that is a temporary, while we call them box, or we call them a square, or whatever you would like to call it, the point of the matter is it's still better than having a tent. It's still better as a temporary solution. It's a temporary solution. How long will a temporary solution be is actually a good question, because that would be a conversation that we could all have, coalitions, membership of the council, we have a housing commission, we can possibly bring that up as well to the governor's office to make sure that this is a issue that we all know it's a crisis throughout the entire country, as far as not just homelessness, affordable housing and everything else. But I much rather have individuals who can at least place their head at night in a place that is not other than a tent, or other than somewhere else, and be placed in a warm area. Some of these individuals, they may have kids, they may not have kids. I'm not honestly too sure about that, which was the point that Councilmember Riley, I think, brought up, due to Harrington Hall being right there. But again, I just want to make sure that this is a temporary solution. And so some of the individuals as well, on that resolution noted, whether it's veterans and mixing them in with children in our schools, you know, not every homeless person is a sexual offender either, right? And so, but the concern here that I have is that it's a temporary structure, and that temporary structure should be available now during these cold times as we're approaching winter, And we should continue to have these conversations and making sure that if it is temporary, let's come together. Not just now, because this is before us, but let's continue to have this conversation as we have so many other concerns coming before us. This should be one that we continue to have. This is the perfect timing for it. The timing should have been even last week, it should be today, and it should keep on going on how we as council members can help out and make sure that someone has a place to lay their head at night. And it's also a good way for us to also, which we'll be hearing later tonight, developers coming before us and talking about affordable housing. I mean, it's all a ripple effect. And so let's keep people accountable on that at the same time. So I am not in support of this resolution this evening. And I hope that we can, and I think we should, and I think we will be having these conversations as we move forward, at least while I'm still in office. And I do welcome everybody to work on this so that we can continue to provide, or at least provide for the time being, I should say, a temporary structure for the homeless individuals in our state, where there is a portion here in Cranston, whether the other portion gets allocated to another city and spread out equally, but we should at least for the time being make sure that if these structures are being built, we should not object for the time being to make sure that everyone has a place to lay their head in the evening, at night. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Any other comment from council members that haven't spoken yet? Seeing none, I'll just finish up by saying I will be in support of this resolution this evening. I know there's no good answers and we need to continue working together for a solution. I just have the same concerns that Councilmember Renzulli brought up on the pallet housing shelters. There's no bathroom in there, and I think that's a tough place for a family to be. I think the hotel solution and housing with bathrooms and showers is a much better solution, especially with the snow and the inclement weather coming. That being said, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
No.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
No.
Councilman Donegan,
No.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
No.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. So that's 4-4. I believe ties die, so it equals it doesn't pass. I'll defer to Solicitor Radecki. I think this is the first tie of the term for clarification.
That is correct, both under Robert's rules as well as the rules of the council. 4-4 tie, any tie is.
So this is a moot point. We move on to the next agenda item.
Yes.
Thank you. Vote was 4-4. Moving on to report of committees. We have the Finance Committee. Council Vice President Ferry, please introduce the items under the committee.
On Finance Committee tonight, we have 4 items. The first is a resolution authorizing real estate tax abatements, which was passed in committee. I would urge you to pass this tonight.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on the resolution authorizing real estate tax abatements. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, that resolution passes, that motion passes 8-0.
Next item is resolution authorizing motor vehicle tax abatements. This passed in committee. I urge passage tonight.
Do we have a motion on the motor vehicle tax abatements?
Motion
Motion
to
to approve.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, motion passes 8-0.
Next item is tax interest waiver approvals. They were passed in committee. I urge passage tonight.
Could I have a motion to approve the interest waiver approvals?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
No.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, the motion passes 7-1.
Last item on the finance is tax interest waiver denials. They passed in committee. I urge passage tonight.
Could I have a motion to approve the denials?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Thank you, Council Vice President Ferry. That concludes the Finance Committee. Moving on to the Ordinance Committee. Chair Matthew Riley, the floor is yours for introduction.
Thank you, Council President. First, we have ordinance 9-22-03 entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic Multi-Way Stop, sponsored by Councilwoman Jermaine. It's passed in committee and we urge passage tonight.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on 9-22-03.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please, do we have any discussion? No, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas, Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Motion passes 8-0. Councilman Riley?
Next, we have 9-22-01. This is the change of zone of 747 Pontiac Avenue. This has passed in committee and is before the council tonight for a full vote.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on 9-22-01. This is the zone change for 747 Pontiac Avenue. Any discussion from council members? Council, Member Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. At the last meeting, unfortunately, I wasn't able to participate. Is there anyone from Planning Commission? Oh, I have a question. Would you clarify for me, please, what was the previous zone we changed right now? It's commercial mix.
The existing zone at the site is A6. A6 is single family residential, 6,000 square feet per dwelling.
And now we're changing A6 to A.
The proposal is to change it to C2 with conditions. The conditions are the density bonus. That would be the 18 units that the applicant has requested.
The condition, it cannot go over 18, is that correct?
Well, currently, the way that I had amended it was to go as high as 21, but it seemed like last ordinance committee that the council was fine with just 18 as the max. So that's, I think, within the purview of the council to just keep it at 18.
Do we have any issue with the parking? Is that,
No, there's no issue with parking on the site. They have plenty of parking, whether it was 18 or 21.
all right, thank you. So I have to mention, thank you, you answered my question. At the visit, we have a site visit. Unfortunately, I have to leave early because my son has a soccer game and I have to pick up my son, so I left early. I represent the area. What I want to say is I know there is a lot of people who against to have this development. But at the same time, that's still the same thing I mentioned earlier, is When we propose something in this ward, some will say, I don't want it here. So go to another ward, I don't want it here. So this culture, not in my backyard, is not serving our community. It's not serving our people. We have an increase in our population. We have family here that were 3, now 5, that need a bigger house. So you have 2 kids, you have 2 bedrooms. Now you have a 3rd kids, you need an additional bedroom. But guess what? You love Cranston, right? As many of us, and you love to raise your children here. Now, because of the status quo, some people say, hey, because now you need more housing, you need to go somewhere. I think we need to, I understand change is hard, but we need to adapt to our current situation. We need to adapt to the evolution. The world is moving. The world is moving. We need to move with the world. We cannot continue to do things the way we do it 50 years ago. It's not possible. I understand. We're gonna have traffic. Yes, that's what the way life going because our population grows. We have more people, we need a car. That's what it is. We cannot do anything about it. What we can do is adapt. We need to adapt to the situation. We need to adapt to serve our people. We need to adapt, changing the laws to adapt. Because at the end of the day, we all love Cranston. We are proud to call it home. And that's why we have other people that want to live here too. They wanted to come in home. We need to open our arms to welcome them, not to push them away. There's, people live in New York. See how it is? People love New York. New Yorkers love New York. But I will never be able to drive in New York. I would not be able to drive in New York, right? But if you live in New York, you adapt. But that's why I will be voting yes for this resolution to allow to have more housing because we have already a shortage in housing in our community. When we have a developer coming to say you want to build housing, we need to welcome them. And the good things is like to have 50% director, right? Affordable, 15%. Is that correct? Okay. So this is a good thing for the city. We have a 15% affordable housing. And one thing I want people to understand, it is not because you cannot afford a $300,000 housing and you do not need it in our city. So we need to have every level. People who can afford 300, they have it. People who can afford 100,000, they have it. We need to have for everybody. So yes, for this development for housing in our ward. And I'm sorry for all of my constituents who don't agree with this, but this is the right thing to do. I hope you will understand. Because we need to do, we cannot satisfy everyone, but we need to make sure what we do for our community, for our children, for our brothers and sisters, it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Any other comment from council members? Council Member Vargas.
Thank you. It's not more of a comment, but I guess it's more of trying to see if like to introduce a possible motion on this ordinance that's before us this evening. And I wasn't sure, backstory is there's 15% right now of that of affordable housing. And so that's the minimum provision of this. And I would really, particularly even with the conversations that we just had this evening before us, like to see one additional unit on here and raise that possible 15% to 20%. And so my question to the solicitor is, or our city council attorney is, that if we were, or if that motion was to pass, is that a huge change where it would then kill the project? Or would it have to be re-advertised once again if I was to put a motion on the floor to have that provision for 15 to 20%, adding just one more unit of affordable housing?
Yes, Councilwoman. I mean, as you may recall, the discussion that we had in committee, there's an economic infeasibility argument that can only really be addressed by the developer. Does it work? I mean, they rely upon so many units that are not low to moderate or affordable housing in order to make the development of the property work. And as I recall from Mr. Pizzulo's testimony in committee, the planning department is pretty keen on making sure that most of these developments make a minimum of the 15%. I mean, your point is well taken, but it would have to go back to the committee, and certainly the developer would have to be given the opportunity to address the economics of their project.
I guess for lack of time, or for the developer in general, then, I won't put that motion forward, but I do look forward to working with the planning department and council members, and to increase that from a 15 to 20% affordable housing as a minimum provision, perhaps as developers are coming before us going forward, to make sure that we as a council also are able to not only work with developers, but on our end also meet that standard of that affordable housing that we as a city also need to meet. So that then being said, I'll leave it at the 15%. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Any other discussion from council members? Councilmember Renzulli.
Thank you. I think had discussed changing this 21 to 18. The developer only wants 18. And so maybe we should just do that. I would defer to legal. Would that have to send it back to, even though that's what the developer has been very forthright saying that's all they asked for?
No, that would not have to go back to committee. That's not a substantive change that, and they would assent to it. So.
Would we have to withdraw the other motions and then I would have to amend, or could I just go from here?
I don't believe so.
All right, so I would make a motion to amend line 102 and to change the 21 to 18, and it doesn't have to say shall not exceed either. It could just say 18 residential units.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Renzulli, can you restate that motion one more time for the record, please?
On line 102 to strike not exceed 21 and instead say shall be 18.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Thank you for clarifying that. Before I go to discussion from the council, I do have to open up public comment again because of the amendment. So at this time, I'll open up public comment in chambers for discussion on the amendment only. And if you're on Zoom, raise your hand and we'll be with Zoom in a second. If there's anybody in chambers that would like to speak on public comment on the amendment, now would be your time to come up to the podium. Just the amendment only. Seeing none, I'll close public comment in chambers. On the amendment, public comment on Zoom. Anybody with their hand up?
There is no public comment on Zoom.
And I will close public comment on Zoom. Under discussion on the amendment only, Councilmember Jermaine, did you have your hand up? No? Okay. Any discussion from council members on the amendment only? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, now we are back to the original ordinance as amended. Any further discussion from council members? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
No.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Motion passes 7-1. Okay, moving on, Councilmember Riley, there's one more ordinance.
Thank you. Ordinance 10-22-02, Administration and Personnel, Municipal Court, Appointment, Term, and Qualifications of Judge of Municipal Court. And this was sponsored by Councilwoman Marino and Vargas, and this passed in committee, and we urge passage tonight. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on 10-22-02 under discussion. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, motion passes 8-0. Moving on to public comment for undocketed matters. At this time, would be the time to speak up on any undocketed matters. If you're on Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are in chambers, now would be the time to come to the podium. Seeing no one in chambers, I will close public comment in chambers. Tom, do we have anybody on Zoom?
Account name Rachel.
Rachel, how are you? Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Rachel Smith, 55 Mapleton Street. So I think this is the right time to comment, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And you have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Perfect, thank you. So I just wanted to comment on the potential change to overnight parking. As I mentioned before, would hope that police, fire, and the highway department would be consulted and that their input be heavily weighted on any change to this ordinance. In my opinion, the change to the ordinance would make the streets less safe. Many times, vehicles that are parked on the street overnight are left there. They are vehicles that are somewhat inoperable and then become a nuisance when it comes to wintertime and snow plowing, snow emergencies, making it harder for the highway department to be able to clear the roads effectively and efficiently in a timely manner. Additionally, some of our streets here in Cranston are a little on the skinny side, and to make it more challenging for an EMS vehicle to get to somebody who is in need of their services, whether it be an ambulance or a fire truck, I just don't see the need for this change. I understand Councilwoman Jermaine has posted on her social media that she received a ticket because she and her husband did not move a personal vehicle to their driveway. And to not like a law and to ultimately break a law by leaving your vehicle knowingly on the street overnight is kind of like, choosing to speed and then complaining about the speed limit. It really doesn't make sense to me. And I would just hope that before any progress is made on this, that due diligence is done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on Zoom?
I see no public comment.
Okay, at this time, I will close public comment for undocketed items. Thank you all who spoke under both sections. Moving on to the election and or appointment of city officials, we have the Tax Assessment Board of Review, appointment of Keith Lavenamore as a regular member for a term to expire November 28th, 2025. And to my understanding, Mr. Lattimore has been serving as an alternate. And will be moving up to sit in the regular seat. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second under discussion. Councilmember Vargas.
He would probably tell me that I had to correct you and I didn't. So it's Lavamodiere.
Thank you. I'm so bad with last names. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Motion passes 8-0. Moving on to the Arcs Commission, we have the reappointment of Paul Carpentier as a member for a term to expire November 28th, 2025. I'll entertain a motion on Mr. Carpentier.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion in a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Next, we have nominations for appointment to the Probate Judge Advisory Commission. We have two members that the council needs to appoint. One needs to be a practicing attorney in Rhode Island. And the other one needs to be a resident of the city. We did have two applicants that we got emails from that submitted a letter to the clerk asking one to be reappointed and one to be appointed. They both meet the requirement of, they're both attorneys and they both live in the city. So if the council saw fit, they both could go on because they both fit either category. So I just want to put that out there and this time open up nominations for appointment of a member who shall be a practicing Rhode Island attorney, 2-year term to expire November 28th, 2024. Do we have any nominations from the floor? We had submitted a request for Joseph Manera and Anne Marie Macaron had asked to stay on. And then just to clear, this commission meets once every 2 years to give a recommendation to the council. The council can still put, take the recommendation or not take the recommendation. So,
I would nominate Anne Marie Macaron.
okay. For which position? The attorney or the Cranston resident?
The attorney.
Okay. We have a motion for the appointment of Anne Marie Macaron.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on Ms. Macaron? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Next, we have an appointment of a member who shall be a resident of the city of Cranston. Is there a motion to appoint Joseph Manera?
Motion to approve. Motion to approve Joseph Manera.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a-
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
They're actually nominating him, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to nominate Joseph Manera.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, and then we have one last item under Probate Judge Advisory Commission. I'm looking for a motion to extend the current probate judge's term until a future one is appointed by the next council. That way, the city business doesn't stop January 1 if one is a.
Motion to approve the current probate judge until the new council appoints a new judge
Second.
For the next term.
for the next term.
Right. Motion a second. I'm gonna go to the solicitor to make sure I didn't mess anything up. We're fine. Okay. We have a motion a second under discussion. Council Member Vargas.
Quick question. Given the fact that we're extending the present probate judge term, is there a reason why we're not extending the other judges as well? If there's some sort of concern of interruption? And why do we think there would be a interruption, or I should say, why don't we think, but more so, how long do we think that extension is going to go for? Because this is an extension, but there's no set date other than
Yeah.
whenever we have one.
The statutory scheme, if you will, in Cranston for probate is different than it is for municipal. I might suggest to the council that should be some congruity brought to that in the next legislative term. But with that said, given that, you're appointing a full probate commission, I don't know if they'll meet in December or January or when it is. And then you folks will have your inaugural meeting in late January, I believe. Is it early? I beg your pardon. But either way, so that there's no lapse in the cases. I know that the docket in probate, for example, is pretty busy, but you could do the same thing for municipal in my view, if you wanted to. I mean, there's no prohibition against it. A lot of cities and towns have within their ordinances that the judge of whatever court it is shall serve until a successor is appointed. And I know that, I have vivid memories, as I'm sure you do, of 2 years ago, January. And of course, it was on Zoom, which made it worse. But it was really a logjam when it came to judges and nominations and who knew who and who didn't. And, that way the council has, a chance to acquaint themselves with folks. But yeah, that there's nothing that would prohibit you, Councilwoman, from certainly putting the municipal judges on the docket so that for next month. The only thing is if the ordinance passes with respect to the reduction in the number of judges, choices have to be made. So you'd have to extend the terms of certain specific judges and not others, I might suggest.
And so, sorry, Council Member, Council Vice President, I have one more just question to follow up on that. And so does that then mean that by having the extension of the probate judge, given the fact that we just nominated and voted on the probate judge advisory commission, I believe they have to meet, and I could be wrong on this, 20 days
They're supposed to.
prior or so?
They're supposed to, yes.
Okay.
And hopefully give you, they can meet and give their recommendation, but this group with the holidays and travel schedules may not all have an opportunity to consider the recommendations that they give. And I think that was part of the commentary, if I recall, 2 years ago in January.
And if that commission was to give for whatever reason, hypothetically, not a positive recommendation, does that go nowhere on our end, or is it just an advisory commission just to make sure that?
No,
they're
it's just
qualified?
an advisory commission, really, as the council president alluded to, you could pick a name out of a hat if you wanted to, regardless of what the commission recommends, so.
Thank you.
Council Vice President Perry.
If we were to extend the term with the current probate judge for another month, wouldn't we have to pass something in the finance committee to pay him for an extra month? No? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's all budget. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan? Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas?
Yes. Okay, moving on to report of city officers. I see nothing here on the agenda. The next agenda item is executive communications. We have the legal fees report. Do we have any questions from any council members on the legal fees report for the administration? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. Director Moretti, would you like to introduce this?
Thank you, Council President. Yes, newly appointed Assistant Chief Richard Mancini is requesting, and certainly the administration, the mayor supports continuing his service for an additional year given his admirable work, and he passed all the requirements for that continuance. So with that, we ask you to please consider him for an extra year.
Director, I take it's a good sign he wants to stay after the new position for a month or two.
He says it's challenging.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on Assistant Chief Richard Mancini.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Hey, we have a lot of motions and a lot of seconds, so on any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplas.
Yes, Director Moretti, would you like to introduce the next item?
Sure. Actually, we have the wonderful person in attendance, Amelia LaValle. The mayor is asking your advice and consent to appoint her to the Conservation Commission with the term to expire November of 2025. Amelia is a University of Rhode Island graduate. Given her grades, a pretty smart individual. She's currently doing her graduate studies, seeking a master's in public administration, which really fits in quite well for her. And a wonderful young lady from Edgewood. And I think her GPA is something like 3.9. And certainly she's showing her commitment to the city. That's, such great to see someone up and coming as a civic minded individual that is doing the voluntary internship within the planning department. So to have some great young blood instilled in the Conservation Commission and in the city of Cranston, we'd love to have Amelia join us.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the advice and consent. The mayor's appointment. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Council President Paplas.
Yes, thank you very much. Congratulations. And Director Moretti, I see you're still standing there. I think you have maybe one more.
I love the microphone.
You love the
They-
microphone?
Yeah, what it is this Thursday, just a reminder that 5 o'clock, the tree lighting at the City Hall. This Thursday, 5 o'clock. I think the big guy is going to show up probably around 5:30 or so. We're told that. And there'll be some carolers. I believe the folks from Cranston East will be over. And certainly love your participation and anyone from the public. So I just want to make sure I pass that along. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Moretti. Appreciate it. Moving on to Council President Communications, just want to say a couple things. Hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving with family and friends. I know I did. Any day that I can eat as much as I want, nobody makes fun of me or tells me to stop eating is a good day. One more item, and I don't want to steal any of Council Member Vargas's thunder. The city clerk's position has been posted on the city website. Applications are still being taken through December 2nd. So if you're interested in the city clerk's position, apply. Moving on to council member communications. Council Member Jermaine, you're first up.
Thank you, Council President. So the first item we have is a discussion on overnight parking workshop. So last month or 2 months ago, when I proposed the ordinance about overnight parking, the solicitor suggests that we should have a workshop to really discuss about it. So that's something that I deeply care about. And I have to mention during this election cycle where I was able to really work the neighborhood, work my ward too. And I see things that really make me think more and more how we need to address this issue of overnight parking. So we, as I mentioned last time, is because there were other council working, and because of open act meetings violation, 5 people cannot work on the same topic together. So that's the only reason that I was working on it by myself. But I was hoping that the day I submit the ordinance, there's gonna be another ordinance in the floor. So we will combine 2 ordinances to make one. That was my hope when I submit my ordinance 2 months ago. I know we have a lot of discussion, and this overnight parking is not something new. And prior former council, Steve Psycho, proposed overnight parking in the past 10 years. Nothing has done. And again, I have to say it, Cranston's 50 years ago, 10 years ago is not the same Cranston. People need to understand that Cranston that exists 10 years ago is no longer. So right now, we have to adapt to the demographic we have to adapt to our populations. And I do believe that a lot of families needs an additional parking. We have, I don't know I cannot speak for other ward, but Ward 2, if you take a look, just take a 2 hours walking Ward 2, you will see so many multi-family home, 3-family home, mostly. And those family home, they need additional parking. And we have single home too who need additional parking because the family grows. So imagine you have 2 little kids 10 years ago. Now they were 5, now they're 16, they're 17, 18. So they need a car. Or if they go to the University of Rhode Island, they are not far away, they still live with you. And you have a burden because you don't have overnight parking, and you have a burden where you have to have a ticket. They're gonna be ticketed, it's the law. So we need to change the law to adapt to the current situation of the populations. And that's why I will not give up on this, and I hope everyone who's been working on it, we can find a way to have this workshop or submission of a new ordinance, or I keep working on my ordinance, have other ideas, I can submit it again. But this is a topic that needs to be addressed, that we need a solution. I understand people against or people in favor, but what is important here is for those who do not have options. What do we do for them? So I will ask Solicitor Angel to give us a little update.
So my understanding was where we left this off is that we were going to, the council was going to, which I have nothing to do with scheduling, was going to schedule a workshop at which the different constituencies involved would be invited to give the council input as it designed the ordinance, both parts of public safety, traffic, DPW, everyone, so that the council could consider that. The council needs to schedule a meeting. So, I mean, my suggestion is set up the workshop. We can bring these people together, make sure everybody gets a copy of the 2017 traffic study, which I don't think everybody had. I only think certain people had that. And we can begin to draft around that. I mean, it's a matter of collecting everybody's ideas rather than, you know, sitting here for hours and amending and striking lines and so forth. I think you guys, you ladies and gentlemen, can gain some consensus after hearing from, because I know public safety will want to be heard, as well as DPW, as well as the administrate. I mean, every department that touches upon this issue will want to be heard. So I know in just my brief discussions with the chief, for example, you know, for example, there is potentially someone in his department who would most likely be engaged to issue the stickers that would be necessary. But what does that process look like on his end? I know that certain council members would be concerned about the cost of that, the application process, what's involved, so forth and so on. Then that's just one piece of the puzzle, right? So that's why I had suggested, let's get it all out on the table. And from there, you know, it's, you tell the chef what you want the meal to look like, and I'll cook it for you. So.
Thank you, Solicitor. So, I think at this time, Council President, so would you,
So my thoughts on this is, one, we're at the end of the term, right? Business doesn't carry over from this term to the next term. So I think the best bet might be to wait till January, get the new council seated, then we don't know what the committees are gonna look like. And then call that special committee or workshop together.
If I may, Mr. President, I apologize for interrupting you. But given that there is no turnover in the personnel of the council, okay, in drafting is not going to occur. It could. I mean, it could. It's the same council. I mean, it'd be a different term and technically a different council, okay? So if we had an ordinance in committee in late December and it was still in committee, it would be dead in committee and have to be reintroduced in the next term. My suggestion is, given that the makeup is the same, have your hearings. It's a workshop, so it's not like your subcommittee composition will change, right? It's a council workshop where all 9 members will be there. But it's the same 9 members. It's just a different majority. That really doesn't make a difference, right? So, yeah, schedule a workshop. I mean, if you can get one of those workshops in December, I don't know what vacation schedules are for public safety, but the sooner we begin that process, the sooner we can put pen to paper.
thank you. So, Council President.
So I guess I would say this, with the holidays coming, I don't know what everybody's schedule is. It's tough enough to get everybody together for a council picture, which we're gonna do on the 5th for the committee meetings. So why doesn't everyone shoot Rose an email with 2 dates that work for you? That doesn't interfere with another body meeting in council chambers, because you gotta look at the city calendar. And if enough people sync up, we can go from there, but it's gonna be tough to do just in December. I just know to get a workshop together.
I understand, Council, but this is for the people. That's the work we got to
everything we
do.
do here
We're
is for the
gonna make
people.
some sacrifices to do the work for the
Everything we
people.
do, I also don't wanna rush something and then have cars on the street when we're trying to plow in the winter time too. So I'm thinking about DPW and the workers we have. Council member Renzulli.
Council President, would it be possible to just attach this to one end of when we're already here on another day?
Yeah, I mean, we could also make it an extension of the safety services docket too, if we wanted to.
But
But-
first,
Or council workshop.
so we're all already planning on coming, and
All right.
police usually comes to safety services, and we could at least do something so we're not kicking the can down the road.
All right, well, then we'll just plan for one of the committee nights this month. We'll have a workshop on overnight parking. I'll check with Rose and see what night works better. What's that? Next week? They're all next week? Do we have enough time for advertising? Okay. All right, we'll have a workshop on overnight parking next week.
We can have 2 meetings.
To make
We
it,
use those 2 meetings we have and
yeah,
just
we can-
extend the hours for the meetings to do the workshop.
right. My next question would be to make it productive. Does the council want to make an effort to see how many directors can we bring in that night to give you input? So do you want to do safety services first if they're available? Do you want to do DPW and planning? I just throw that out to you so that, you know, there can be a flow to this. Because we know that all of those folks want to be heard. I just want to make sure that,
Yes. So we send an email by tonight. I'll send an email to you.
No. No need to send the email. we'll just put a workshop at the end of finance committee meeting on the 5th. And then we'll put a workshop at the end of the other night that we're here,
Okay,
so we can hear from Public Works too.
okay, so
Right.
for the. We're gonna be here on,
Because we're gonna have different directors here, different nights.
yes,
So,
different nights for the.
Yeah, I know, Director Moretti, is it tough to get all the directors here one night? Would you rather have everybody? Would you want to hear, we'll hear from Public Safety one night, we'll hear from DPW another night. Okay. All right, we'll work it out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's very,
All right.
I know I have many other items tonight. I would like to discuss the last one and then I'm gonna put the I will continue two of them. So to make it a little,
Which two would you like to continue? The 18-wheelers? Okay. Okay.
also, I would like to have a discussion because on what the city is about, we need have to.
Councilwoman Jermaine, if you don't press your button, it's not going to record.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to continue two of those items for next meeting. Discussion on 18-wheeler trucks and status of aqueduct and interval crosswalk. So I'm going to continue those two topics. And I would like to hear about the Badlang Pool project, the status, so we know there were some work that's been done to have an update where we are and if Badlang Pool will be open to the public by the summer 2023. Mr. Director Moretti.
Okay, a couple of things. I would just ask your cooperation of the city council in the future, the council members. We take a lot of time out of our director's time. We have meetings to prepare for the docketed items. So you continue things, so we just wasted our time. So my point is, if we're prepared, can we get this stuff over with? Because now things might change a month now. We'll be happy to let you know, but it's frustrating.
Can we move that? So we have time.
I
Let's
can
hear
answer
it.
in 2 seconds.
Let's
All right,
do it.
so let's go to the.
Let's do it.
Let's go to
Okay.
the 18-wheeler. We'll get. an
Yes,
update
let's
on that.
start with the 18-wheeler.
18, thank you, Brian,
Okay.
very much.
No, I don't want to make it
Because then
hard.
they yell
for
at
you.
me when I go back.
Give me all of them.
Okay, you got
All right.
the 18-wheeler. Right now, it is a no-through trucking street. What it is, it's if people are, the trucks are going through, it's either an enforcement issue or the trucks that are delivering to Burger King use that street for access, which that being the case is not, they're not going through the street, so it's not a violation. So right now, it is a no-through street. But again, if people notice trucks going to Burger King, they can use that for access. It's not no trucks at all. And you'll cut off the access, or make it more difficult. But otherwise, it would be an enforcement issue if there are people, trucks violating that do
I-
pass through.
I'm sorry, I do receive many complaints about those 18-wheeler truck going to Norfolk. And
right
the
through.
resident in Norfolk stated it's a residential area that those trucks should not be going to. So that's what they said. So, and we have it happen.
A couple of things I will mention to police, happy to do so. Any of those residents, if they're able to get license plates, that would also be very helpful so that police can follow up with them. So we'll do both. So if you ask those residents to get, if they could ever get the sight of those tags, that'd be great. We can pursue it with them. And then in the meantime, I'll mention to police if they're able to, have an officer there observing that. Fair enough?
That's good, that's good. And you had also in the same one, there were you have a homework to do for me.
Yeah,
Remember that?
Was that yeah, I really do love you, just so you'll know that. The
Did you do it?
but the do not block the intersection,
Yeah.
they sent out, DPW has sent a request to the State Traffic Commission asking, because it falls under their jurisdiction, because Reservoir Avenue is a state road, requesting that they do something, do not block intersection if they can help out. So I did my homework.
So you do not have an answer yet.
Don't have an answer. That was submitted maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, if I recall.
So that will be continued for next
That's
time.
fine. Thank you.
That's fine.
We agree.
Okay, Rose, please, we're gonna continue this topic because we don't have the answer yet.
Thank you.
All right, the next one is the status of aqueduct and interval crosswalk. So we passed an ordinance that will install a crosswalk enumerated at the intersection, aqueduct and interval. So can you update us on this status?
It's completed.
Yay!
You didn't notice? Cost a lot of money, but it's beautiful. It's, well, it did cost some money because there were 2 intersections it had to cross and installing a crosswalk on the island. But it is completed. We got it done
When?
before winter. It was completed, I think 2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, towards I think the end of the prior, not Thanksgiving
Okay,
week.
I will
think
take
that
some
was-
pictures. Thank you so much.
No, they look great.
So
actually.
I will call because the lady who passed away called me. It always called me, always email me about what can happen, what can happen. I say, something's gonna happen.
Mayor Hopkins often says that city government is like trying to turn the Titanic around the Suez Canal. So sometimes things take longer than we would hope.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. I'm so glad. Thank you so much, Director. I appreciate it.
I'll pass that
That
along.
means so much for the resident living in, not only this, the sister of the woman who passed away, and she wanted to have something done in the name of her sister. And we have other residents living in the neighborhood as well, telling me how people, flowing, and when you're driving, when you're walking and seeing that means a lot. Thank you.
I think you'll be impressed by it.
All right, thank you. Badlang Pool, yes.
Okay, I believe the mayor told me that he forwarded you actually some drawings, if you will, architectural drawings.
Yeah.
Okay, they do look very nice. To try to describe it to you, it's a work in process, and we'll be able to report back to you, and I'll explain in just a moment. But to talk to you about the drawings that Moxicosha did, the architect. If you picture the pool, it's like 3 phases.
Would you be able to show it on the screen for people to see?
Probably, I'm not that techie. See, it is yeah, and I'd like to actually give you a better update. What happens is it's such a work in process, it's gonna change. The key thing now is we can show you as many pictures as we want, and they look beautiful, the concepts look practical. Then it comes down to money. He did not attach an estimate of costs with that project at this point. Obviously, very crucial to this project. So we're waiting for those numbers, his estimate. It's crude estimates, but at least it puts us in a ballpark. He's saying, I believe if I recall, within a couple of weeks, he'll have those numbers. Otherwise, we're looking at something, it might be just tempting, but we're not able to answer a lot of questions. We could, I can pass those that drawing, if you will, I believe we can do it electronically. But again, it's a work in process.
This person who, for disclosure, Mayor can share with me a picture of the first phase, how the Badlang Bowl would look like. So I would love to have it share our next meeting. So we will continue this. Our next meeting, you can have it share it in the screen. Everybody can have an idea, and we can have the prices, because this person who start this work is someone we put a bid. It's a bid, no?
It's someone in the pool from which the Public Works Director calls upon to do architectural drawings, not engineer drawings. Engineered would be the next step that are more expensive. But yes, we be able to share with everyone individually, they're welcome to see it. But
Yeah,
just in concept, just to mention that what he has now is a drawing of the utilizing the existing building, the lower level, kind of the shell of the back of it for, I'll say, bathhouse, restroom facilities. And then heading away from the building, an area for a splash pad. And then the next area would be a pool, which I believe is approximately a third of the size of the current pool. And still feeling that's more than sufficient capacity. And then the other, I'll say, phase or segment of it would be a kind of pavilion, picnic tables, that type of thing, or maybe a little recreational, some type of pickleball or something like that for that facility. So if that gives the people an idea what it looks like. The thinking, the way that could cost, if the number's just really too high, then it could be broken down and practically maybe phase one and phase two. Phase one being, let's say, the pool house, the splash pad area and the pool, and then the pavilion area and maybe the other courts could be added at another time if need be. So we're asking for a two-phase proposal, if you will, a two-phase estimate of what the cost would be for that facility. Hopefully, we'll have it in a couple of weeks.
okay, so I would
And the
like
mayor
to,
feels strongly about, believe me, you were
I
the
know
first
he
person that he shared
he
it with.
share it with me,
And
yes,
he's
I appreciate
certainly
that.
wants the council.
Tell him
to
I
buy
appreciate,
into
well,
it.
I told him I appreciate
Sure.
that as well. So I will continue this for January. You will have more time.
I think I think at that point we'll have.
Is that okay, solicitor? We can continue something for January? No?
Yeah, since the council is the same makeup,
This-
I don't see a problem with that. I just,
Okay.
for those watching at home, I just want to know, does that mean that Mr. Moretti's homework is extended to that date too?
Yes.
I mean, if I'm still around, is that what you're saying?
Is that a written assignment or an oral presentation? I don't.
Both.
Oh, all right. I just-
All right, okay, so we continue this for our January meeting, so, okay.
Councilwoman, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I see your colleague next to you
Okay.
waving her arms. I think she wants to
Thank
chime in on a.
Can I add something to his homework? So Director Moretti, could we also perhaps think about the operationally, how much the cost might change dependent on what structures are used or added to the pool?
Yeah, sure. We could
Okay.
estimate, do a pro forma on resources required to staff it. It should be less, certainly, because. of the size of the
I'm
pool.
sorry, I don't mean based on comparing it to what it was, to what it is now, but if different things design wise are added or taken away, that you need more staff dependent on, for safety reasons, I mean.
I'm sure that conceptually, you could do, as I mentioned, a pro forma, given whatever support costs, overhead costs that might be assigned to it.
Thank you.
And again, hopefully this will be a collaborative effort, and truly with the administration, certainly the council.
Thank you, council members and council member Jermaine. I think you have one last item.
So, this item I put I had a couple resident reach out to me and explain the hardship they have to replace their lead water pipe. And one thing we have, I don't know for other ward, but in Ward 2, I saw a lot of houses, whole houses that need, when you see, you just see there is lead here. And we have children. And most of the time, those houses, they are rentals. And unfortunately, we have not have laws that really protect our renters. And I think Council Donegan, who's been working on safe ordinance occupancy to make sure that we have that. But we have also families who know that they have a problem, but they don't have the means to solve the problem. Someone told me that it costs $4,500 to replace the water line. So my question for the administration, I know I don't want to call, I can take an example for one city that provide, some funding for low-income families to help them with the costs. So that's why I want to know if our city has something in place to help those families who cannot really afford to pay $4,500 to replace that. And that's a health issue. So that's the
Yeah,
reason.
the city does not have any programs at this time. Now, there could be a city, not city agency, other agencies perhaps, well, quasi-city, possibly could look into, we can ask Director Tomasiello and what they might be able to do with the CDBG grant, whether it be replacing pipes or filter systems, I don't know, but I think that might be the way to go. We could speak with Mr. Tomasiello. I'm not sure if CCAP would offer anything.
So we know there's a lot of money out there that we can use. I don't know, maybe we can use, I don't know. So ARPA money, I don't know. But this is a health issue, And I have to tell you, during this past month, having, walking the neighborhood, it's bad. You just see those houses, you just see lead here, So I don't know, maybe auditor can chime in.
This does fall under the opera funds for health and safety. Some other municipalities have done a shared fund where the homeowner pays half and some of the funds are allocated.
Thanks, God. Yeah, you got something?
Also, Senator Whitehouse secured $3.3 million for this to pay for the pipes, I think of 700 families. It's not specific as to who, but it's earmarked for that. And I know the city is responsible for identifying the pipes by October 2024. And more guidance was supposed to come out through the infrastructure bill. But I don't know who gets that information. So there's money for this, but I don't know how it's divvied up. So
homework.
we could,
That sounds like a grant writer.
That's homework for you.
No, for our grant writer. Probably happy to follow up with her.
I don't think you have to. it doesn't
So
say
if
we're
there is
applying.
money and people are in needs, we need to find a way how to help them. And this person reached out to me. We have some retired people who they just squeezing, they are squeezing. So if there are money available, we need to find them to help. And this is very, very important. So if there is money, as you mentioned, I would love to continue this. And you can give us a little more, see if you can use ARPA money, DeMario said, we can use ARPA money to do that, and that's something.
I think my own opinion, ARPA will be kind of a strategic look as to that to be as part of it. To mention, I'll be happy to reach out to Providence Water too, if they're aware of
Okay.
the programs.
Okay, I know Providence helping people. I don't know whether, so I don't have all the information, but I know Providence is helping the resident who needs the help. So that's why I'm asking what Constance is doing for the people who are in need. Thank you.
More homework. Thank you. We'll continue it. And then I see my colleagues' hands up, but just want to add, if your house was built, before 1978, most likely has lead somewhere in the line. So it's a problem across the whole city. My house was built in 1912, so I'm pretty sure I have lead service too. We probably all do. Councilmember Nanian?
Thank you. Yeah, according to the most recent estimates, it's something like 6,100 lead service lines that still exist within the city. If you go to Providence Water, they do have a geo map that you can search your address and kind of give you a pretty good idea of whether or not those have been replaced. Providence Water has a 0% loan interest, I think over 10 years that you can pay for it. But to the councilwoman's point, some people might not have the money up front. It would be good to get an answer from Director Tomasiello about whether or not the lead service line replacement would fall under the Housing Rehabilitation Fund that's in community development. And to the auditor's work, it definitely does fall under the ARPA funds, and it is something that hopefully come next budget that the city will look to invest in, because it is about $4,500 per to change it out on the private side. The good thing is when the resident changes it out on the private side, Providence Water will change it out on the public side.
Good information. Thank you, Councilor Donegan. Yes.
Just for point,
Order,
the
I'll give you the
seminar-
last word on lead service.
The seminar that I took online, that was one of the points that they made as an application of the funds for health and safety.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll keep this on the agenda. Director Moretti, you have lead homework to do. Thank you. Councilmember Donegan, you're up next.
Yeah, and I want to apologize to Director Moretti. I went back to go look at my email about our email chain, and you had responded to this email, so I apologize for taking up your
Good enough.
time.
You're okay.
Is there anything?
No, nothing new. In fact, I spoke to Director Bernardo again, but it was basically saying the same response. In fact, I believe the traffic, a study would need to be done first to justify, warranted, his words, probably about $20,000. And then actually, if that is suggested, recommended, then it's probably about 150,000 for pedestrian activated. So it's not a cheap one. Just a study.
20,000 for the study and 150 for installation.
Yeah, that's the estimate's correct. That'd be design and construction.
All right. Councilmember Donegan, is that satisfy? Good to go? All right, next up, Councilwoman Vargas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. So I will try to make it quick. However, this is very important because I did share with members of Patuxent Village as well as other folks throughout the city in terms of what I'm trying to talk about the trees first. Is my last item, but
No
I'm
problem.
flipping it over. What the process of the tree removal is in terms of the city. What is the guideline in terms of removing the tree? How long is the notice posted on the tree for? And Director Moretti, I did receive the email from you, which is pretty much outlines the ordinance of the tree and the process. But it doesn't really answer a lot of my questions and the questions of many folks who are either business owners or homeowners in the city. And so I do have a few questions for you in terms of the tree in itself and the notice at the date that is posted on the actual tree. There was a tree even on my street, few neighbors down, and there was a notice on there. I'm not sure when it was posted, but long and behold, that tree was knocked down. And it was a fairly healthy tree. I'm not sure. And in all fairness, I knocked on my neighbor's door, it was not home. And so I'm not sure if that neighbor particularly had requested the tree to come down or not. But I just want to know how many of them have been replaced as we're also cutting down the trees, and how many inquiries of homeowners and business owners have there been in terms of the back of the, I think it's called back of the sidewalk program that was mentioned in that information that was sent over to me as well. So if you can just go from the very, very bottom to the top.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers. I thought it was more policy, so I didn't obtain the numbers. I know the replacement, the back of the sidewalk trees would be kind of budget oriented. So whatever is in the budget, but I don't have the number of trees that have been replaced. That's a kind of a budgetary issue. That's just a general response. In terms of the number of people that have called, complained, there's always tree complaints, but I could tell you policy, and it's really that it's up to the tree warden, I guess, by ordinance. But basically, he can't order that dead, dying, or diseased trees be removed. And basically, unless it's a public safety concern, no healthy trees are removed as a policy. There was an exception on, as you know, on Broadway in front of Beans and Buns, that there was a
Broad
tree.
Street. Broad Street.
What I say, Broadway? No, that, I got half right. Yeah, that was a tree that was healthy, but the root system was interfering into the foundation. First of all, the uplifting of the sidewalk, which we received several complaints of people falling down, obviously a safety hazard. Severe safety hazard in front of a business, in front of the village, at the village, and the tree roots were going into the foundation of the building, and one of those stone foundations, so it's not, not a concrete foundation, so it was certainly interfering with the integrity of the structure. So that's an example. So I think so many are taken on a one-by-one basis. In terms of the notice, how long was it up? I could just say approximately, I know several days anyway, because I remember that being called to my attention. That's the only one since we've been here close to 2 years that I heard about in terms of, I'll say, the tribunal, the tree tribunal, or the hearing, if you will, the public hearing on it. So it hasn't been that many.
Right, because there's a process, right? You put a notice up and Cranston residents or home, whether they're homeowners or business owners, and there's a tree on the sidewalk, once that notice has been posted on that tree, you are given X amount of days to pretty much come before some sort of a public hearing or reach out to the city. The problem with that is when you look at the notice that gets stapled on to the trees, is there's no date. So you don't even know when that notice was actually placed on the tree.
Yeah, I didn't see the notice, but it is.
I have a
10 days, I guess, is the ordinance. The tree warden shall give 10
Right.
days notice of removal or pruning of trees located in the public rights of way, et cetera.
Right, so it says this notice, and then it says, this tree has been scheduled for removal by the city of Cranston. Please contact the city tree warden with questions, 401-780-6171. But there's no date when that notice gets posted.
It should be.
And so, that was one item that was, or at least one question that was brought to the attention. So if we can actually add the date on that, I think that would be great to begin with as far as the notice goes. And in terms of who decides what tree gets taken down, that's that one arborist that we have here in the city, right? So
Correct.
is there a map that he's following to figure out which tree is down? Is he starting at Edgewood? Because I'll be honest with you, it's starting to be a huge problem in Edgewood. There's been a lot of notices going up, a lot of conversations about this tree's coming down, that tree's coming down. And I get it. Sometimes people, it's almost like playing the telephone game. You could have one tree down, but it really wasn't that tree. And suddenly, some of it could be rumor, some of it is not. But I do want to know, how do they plan which streets they're starting to go through in terms of putting a notice on a tree if that notice is deceased or not? With so many trees in the city, I'm just trying to figure out, are they just starting in Edgewood and working their way through the other side of the city? Because
I believe that there is not a master plan, if you will. I think his
Okay.
workload is as such that he's just responding to questions, concerns, and that's a full-time job in and of itself. I'm not aware, I can't tell you for sure, but from my observations working with that department, that there isn't a plan that has, I'll say, I don't want to say the spare time, don't get me wrong, but to do that, I think he's reacting because there's daily complaints, assessments need to be made about trees, valid and invalid, and he's got to investigate every one of them. So I don't think there's much of a master plan. for this
Okay.
coverage.
And so for every tree that gets cut down, how many is the city planting or replacing?
Yeah, I don't have that number. I don't, and I know he doesn't take down a lot of trees.
And I understand that based on the story that I've kind of read or that I've heard has been that there were at one point in the city, trees that were planted on specifically on the sidewalks that weren't precisely the right tree for the sidewalk, hence the reason why there is some sidewalks that we're seeing throughout the city that are being lifted, the roots are growing in so many different ways and there's no control. And I believe that the new plants, correct me if I'm wrong, or trees are the right ones. But I know it's late in the evening, at night already, but I truly am trying to get a sense of how many trees have been planted within the last 6 months and how many also have been taken down on there. And do you have a list of potential notice of trees that are on your list? Or in someone's list, whether it's the arborist or whomever, of what's potentially going to come down? Because if I, for example, was to request that the tree in front of my sidewalk be taken down, correct me if I'm wrong, is a process, the arborist goes out, checks it out, see if it has a disease. And if I myself wanted to even prune that tree, technically or legally, I should not be able to do so. It should be the city who prunes it, correct?
Whatever the opinion of the tree warden is necessary, tree plant damaging, destroying. No person shall, without consent of the tree warden, use clipping spurs for the purpose of climbing ornamental or shade trees. No person or agent of a firm, blah, 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 shall remove, cut down, prune, willfully injure or deface a tree without the written permission of the tree warden.
Okay.
So correct.
If I can then at least just first, lack of time, just be able to get a listing. And then if you don't mind emailing it to me, and I can also make sure that I share that along with the other members of the community who've reached out. But is it fair to say that if we have, I think, was it a planting, West Bay, I think it was, there was a tree and they were donating trees.
They were given funds, but they now went kaput. I believe they're not doing trees anymore, but I believe the tree warding is looking into associating itself or doing a venture with, I believe, one of the state organizations. So I think that's in transition.
Okay, so, but
I can get you number of planted, number taken down.
And putting a date when that notice went up, and I would add possibly if I can, and I'm not, if this has to be by way of an ordinance, that it should be added that this tree, this notice was put up on this day in that language that you have, whether it's 10 or 14 days, if you would like to dispute this, to reach out to the city. I think there should be that language in that.
Yeah, I didn't see the
notice that I
notice.
have.
It's common sense that you're talking about, so I see no reason why they should not do that. Yeah, everything you're saying makes total sense.
Thank you. If there's any follow-ups, I'll make sure to reach out to you, or otherwise I will add it for the next council docket as well, or for Public Works perhaps, which is a shorter meeting in case we have folks from the community that also want to come in. Because again, yes, we had that one right outside of Beans and Buns and there was no concrete laid over where the tree was. There was actually bricks laid over. I didn't know if there was, is that something that the owner or the city does not or prefers not to replace that area?
The
Another tree.
DPW director and the arborist prefer not planting a tree there because they feel the same thing will happen again. You won't be a council person and I'm not gonna be in my job, but it will be a problem down the road when it lifts the sidewalk again. So for the long term, they don't want to do that. Is just planting in that location. Instead, they would prefer to plant a tree as the back of sidewalk program somewhere else. So we could say we could plant a tree, make the neighbors happy for a while, but 15 years from now, 20 years, we're just in the same position that we're at now.
Thank you. And then on that end, I did receive the Excel spreadsheet of the year-to-date expense, so thank you for that. And I got it from Mike Igo, correct? And the second item on there, technically now the third, I guess, because I mixed things around, is the number of city clerk's application received. I was just informed that there was roughly 29, but I want to know what the process is going to be between now
Yeah.
and the next coming weeks in terms of
Yeah, but
the
the
city
posting
clerk.
period ends on the second, as the council president mentioned, this Friday. And anticipating that you will be receiving more because people tend to put things off until the deadline. And so, yes, we'll be accumulating those, pass them along to the, the new council to make the call. But speaking with Director Perillo, he believes he found some very, very fine candidates in that bunch.
So in the past, when I served, when there was a search for the last clerk, there was, I believe, 2 members from each, the majority party and the minority party. And so I'm wondering if that's going to be the same process. And I wanted to make sure that I put it on the record because I have been asked. So I wanted to make sure that I share that with everyone.
Yeah, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. I don't plan on changing anything between now and the end. In the past, obviously, 2 members of the minority party, majority party, so 2 and 2 got together, go through the applications with Director Perillo and start, weeding them down and then bring in some people for interviews. And then obviously it's the council's purview after January.
And whoever the members are, they should see all of the applications because it is a council appointment. The administration may be collecting them, through the personnel office, but this council has a right to see all of them. So it has
Correct.
to be a complete applicant pool because it is your appointment.
Okay, so the process that you're thinking of is to start, obviously December 2nd, I think this Friday, the posting comes down and start the process the
Yeah, I
week
mean,
after.
at that point, I'll reach out. John left already. I'll reach out to Majority Leader Donegan, see what dates work for him or whoever the 2 members that, you guys decide. And then we'll just check Director Perillo's schedule. We'll get together and go through all the applications and start to see who applied and what's going on and go from there. So.
Okay, but
It
there,
doesn't get appointed until the next term anyways.
and in the event that this person can't start in January, because we have to be sworn in by the the first Monday of the year, I would assume that we can still continue the meeting as we have until we come to that point where we decide officially and then bring it to the council for a full vote.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
I got homework too.
No, I'm happy to
You're
sit down.
done.
I'm done with this
All
microphone.
right, so Councilmember Vargas, thank you. Council Member Marino requested that
To be continued.
we could continue everything, but grants, pending grants will be discussed at the Finance Committee on the 5th. Lisa's is gonna come in and address the Finance Committee, so we can put that on that agenda. And then the tree removal, I think, is going to Public Works too. Is that correct, Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
So we can keep that on there too. So that concludes council member communications. We have no council business carried over. I'll entertain a motion to send all of the new business in Roman numeral 12 to the proper committee for hearings.
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilor Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, the city council's next regular monthly meeting will be held on December 19th, 2022, the final meeting of the term. I'll entertain a motion to, Councilmember Jermaine.
thank you, Council President. Before we adjourn, I would like to make an announcement.
Okay.
So I am collecting warm clothing for the homeless. So everybody bring a coat, gloves, hats to help them. So, drop off location is Artist Exchange, 50 Wall Square from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We are collecting warm clothing for the homeless.
Excellent. Thank you for bringing that up. Councilmember Renzulli.
And tomorrow we are collecting toys at the Park Theater through Cranston Cares for, and with the Marines for Choice for Tots. If anyone would like to come by and see Santa and Mrs. Claus and drop off an unwrapped toy. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, seeing no other points of information, I'm seeing a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no, nay. When none opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you all.